I'm Janice Edwards. Coming up on Signature Silicon Valley, we begin with a focus on NAMI, the National Association on Mental Illness, and then highlights from the Blacks in Business, Blacks in Technology Awards Dinner. And we end our show with energy on happiness, receiving, and more from Erica Glessing. That's all coming up next. Join us. Welcome to Signature Silicon Valley. I'm Janice Edwards. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin our show today with a focus on the National Association on Mental Illness, NAMI, which helps so many people grappling with the mental illness diagnosis of loved ones or their own. Victor Ojakian is the president of the Santa Clara affiliate. He's back with us, and joining us for the first time is Robert Villanueva, who is part of the National In Our Own Voice training systems that you have. So welcome to you both. Welcome back, Victor. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, you both have personal stories of experience in the sense that, Victor, your son was lost to suicide, and that is what really brought you into your involvement with NAMI. People know you as former mayor and in so many arenas, but can you share a little bit about how NAMI helped you deal with what is certainly an unbearable nightmare?
So I think, and that's a good question, NAMI is sort of the premier national organization, but also probably the premier organization in this county that works with families who have loved ones that have a mental health condition. And so in my case, I found a lot of support, people who had similar experiences that were able to share and help me, frankly. And I call my NAMI affiliate members my extended family,
yes,
because that's how helpful they've been in a lot of things that I've worked on.
Yes, it's an incredible organization, and I emceed the walk one year. You just recently completed the walk. And Robert, your involvement with this came after your own mental health diagnosis. Can you share a little bit about your personal story?
Yeah, at the age of 28, I started getting symptoms of depression. So I was originally diagnosed with clinical depression. And then that eventually turned into, at the age of 30, a diagnosis with bipolar disorder. And I didn't find that out until, unfortunately, I was locked in a psychiatric hospital. That led me to about 2 years of isolation and loss of family and career. And that's when I found NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And that was through the In Our Own Voice program, where two individuals with lived mental illness go out and tell their story, whether it's the public or a church or police officers, and we share our story. So that was the beginning of building self-esteem back, and I actually got involved with the walk that we just had, and that was in 2004. So that was a big accomplishment to be a part of that, and that many people coming together to celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you're sharing, what both of you have shared, I think is probably resonating with someone watching right now who is either dealing with a mental health concern of their own or a loved one and not knowing what to do. The isolation is one of the principal challenges that are faced, because there's many times shame associated with it and not an understanding. I imagine when you were going through what you were going through, you probably never thought that you'd be a national trainer one day helping others as you have. What would both of you like to share for someone who may be hearing this but may not be willing to face that, admitting that this is where the problem is the first step toward finding healing and solutions?
So I think it's important that people seek help. We seek help when we have physical illnesses, but because of what you're talking about, Janice, is the stigma, the whole stigma around mental health, the negativity about suggesting that you're having some difficulties mentally is a huge barrier. My wife and I must refer, it seems like every week, somebody to NAMI for one of our free classes. And the reason is that people can gain knowledge, experience, and awareness, and they can connect with other people in a similar situation, and it's very helpful.
So at a free class, what might someone experience or expect?
So at our classes, it depends on which one you're taking, and as you know, I brought this along, we We give a whole list, we have a whole list of free classes. They're free, but not without cost, and so that's part of the reason why we're here speaking. What they can gain is an understanding about what some of the mental health conditions are about, what the characteristics are, some of the things you can look for, things you can do about that, how you can seek help, who you should see, and some of the other ramifications. And that's what the purpose of the classes are.
Yes. And Robert, I want you to have an opportunity too to probably speak to someone who might be experiencing some of what you might have experienced before your diagnosis.
Yeah, I know in the hospital it took me 4 or 5 days before I even called my family because of the stigma and the shame on that. So within our voice, it's bringing up the conversation. I know Chet Watson and Gunnar Christensen with FaithNet, which you could find on www.nami.org. It's bringing up that conversation, whether it's in the faith-based community or we even do the Interim Voice on psychiatric units here locally at El Camino Hospital or Alameda County John George Psychiatric Hospital. So even start at the beginning where people are in acute psychiatric hospitals all the way to CIT within the community, police agencies and whatnot. And it's opening up that discussion, which is really important and reduces stigma, because stigma is, as Vic mentioned, that barrier of reaching out for help and continuing to receive help from mental health professionals and the supportive community.
Yes, and let's talk about FaithNet, because that's a new initiative. How does that work?
Yeah, FaithNet, it's not a religious network, but rather an outreach to all religious organizations. It had a significant success in doing so, because all the major religions have the basic tenets of just giving care and showing compassion to those in need. So whether it's a church or a mosque or a temple, it gives resources of recognizing symptoms of people attending, of what mental illness symptoms and support and how to support, and also deliver resources. So I believe here in Santa Clara they have quarterly meetings with and invite different organizations to come. So it's a wide open and free service to the organization. So it's a really great program.
And it is so important because we've talked about the personal stories, and many times it does wind up with hospitalization. But tragically, what we're seeing in the news many times is when you hear about someone who's been killed, sometimes family members have called in the police, and it ends tragically. So being able to diagnose things that are a little different, maybe someone can no longer keep an apartment or a house, and there's something underlying, and people feel like they're at their wits' end in terms of trying to help the person, but don't know what else is available. But here you mentioned that the services are free, Victor, but there's a cost. Does that mean there's an investment or a commitment that you expect from people?
So we don't ask the people who are taking the classes to pay for the classes, but they do have a cost related to it. That's why the NAMI Walk, which is, I think, already going to happen by the time this program airs, it's on May 30th, is an important event for us because it's the way we raise a significant amount of the money that we use to defray the costs. People can continue to donate through the NAMI Walk. You can go on to namiwalks.org/Bay Area and pick a team or a person of your choice. Right. I won't tell you to necessarily pick me.
But
or,
pick right?
Yeah. Or Robert's voice.
Right, there you go. Okay.
But people can donate up through June, the end of June.
The end of June. So the end of this month, people will be able to donate. That's one of the reasons we wanted to make sure to let you know about the opportunities to support NAMI, to reach out, to get help, and also to support those who need the assistance, because when we look at the fabric of our community, we are as strong as our weakest links, and people need to know there's hope, there's opportunity, and there's practical steps that can make a difference in terms of that. You wanted to add something, Robert?
Yeah, just all the support, and I know Chet Watson expressed that NAMI is like my family, and so it's taking the I, which is an individual, taking the I out of illness and putting the we into wellness.
And as a national trainer, what is a typical week like for you? You're all over the country speaking to people?
I get to go to different states probably about once a month, and then once a year we have a national training. So people from all different states come together, and I get to train other state trainers. So it's just amazing, from Alaska to Minnesota to, as you can imagine, coming together and training them to become speakers of the Interim Voice program, and them training to train other speakers. So it's an amazing thing to see the collaboration that the National Alliance of Mental Illness has created across the country.
Yes, NAMI has done a phenomenal job, and thank you both for the work that you're doing that makes an incredible difference. And you mentioned the websites, Victor. We're going to put the websites on now. And of course, Victor, what's the name of your team?
Name my team is the Advocates. We
The Advocates.
never give up.
The Advocates Never Give Up. And Robert, the name of your team?
Robert's Voice, out there
Okay.
sharing my story.
All right. Well, look for both of those on the website. And gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
The Silicon Valley Black Chamber of Commerce recently held its first annual awards dinner, and we were there. Here are some of the highlights. I'm Janice Edwards, and we are on location at the Blacks in Business, Blacks in Technology Awards Dinner. You feel the energy, you hear the buzz in the room. People are excited about those who put their signature on Silicon Valley with their strides in technology and also business. Tonight is a night of celebration, and we're talking with some of the people who are leaders in the area.
Thank you for coming out tonight, Blacks in Business, Blacks in Technology. A very important evening where we celebrate the rich history of African Americans in business as well as in technology.
We are talking with Wayne Sutton, who is receiving the Next Generation of Excellence Award this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have accomplished so much in a short time. So let's talk about how did your career begin?
Wow. I'm originally from North Carolina, and it began, just me being a geek at home, right? And then having a passion for entrepreneurship and wanting to see other entrepreneurs be successful. And then I started off in IT, got into web development, social media, then started incubator and accelerator. So it's been a journey.
Yes, it has. So explain exactly what you're doing now.
So what I'm doing now is a pre-accelerator designed for underrepresented minorities in tech in San Francisco. Our goal is to mentor, educate, and connect minority entrepreneurs to capital, educational resources for them to be successful. So I look at myself as being a person that's passionate about education and really inspire entrepreneurs.
I want to start with a quote from Drake that I think is relevant to every brother and sister sitting in this room. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Absolutely. Look what God has done. We're an awesome and proud and powerful people. Look what God has done. God has given us everything we need to succeed in this great country. The second quote, and I'm going to pivot on this quote to my short remarks, is a quote from Jesus Christ. There are not many direct quotes from Jesus Christ in the Bible. It's from the Bible. John 5:30. John 5:30. Look it up when you go home tonight. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now this was Jesus. Jesus couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So what's up with you? Why would you think that you could do anything significant, anything worth talking about on your own by yourself in a vacuum? It is not possible. This is why we have black chambers. This is why we have one of the greatest black chambers in the Silicon Valley area. This passage says to me that we were born to network, that we were born to collaborate.
The renowned George Frazier has given us words of inspiration. He is known for success runs in our race. Why did you want to be here this evening? Why was it important?
Well, I think that the work of black chambers all across the country, in particular the Silicon Valley Black Chamber, really understands the whole idea of networking and connecting the dots. And that business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business we're really in is in the business of building relationships. And that's really what the chamber is about. And, Aubrey Stone, who heads up the California Black Chambers, as well as Carl here, Silicon Valley, are good friends of mine. So I'm here because of my relationship with them and because of the good work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And Leslie really taught me that you always have one more play. One more play. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Someone said, share with me, Carol, what it feels like to be above the glass ceilings. What does it feel like to be above the glass ceiling? Well, I think it begins with recognizing that there really is no such thing. That it is a figment of your imagination. Because when you keep pushing, keep climbing, and understanding that it's all about your ability to persevere, then you can win. Ceilings don't exist.
Carol H. Williams has delivered an inspiring speech. You said there's no glass ceiling, and you shared some great anecdotes. What do you hope people will take away from this evening?
That it is very possible that whatever they perceive that or dream that they want to accomplish, that it was within their power to accomplish it with perseverance, dedication, excellence, constant striving to learn.
All of it's there. You know, we were looking at some of those memorable slogans: strong enough for a man, made for a woman, finger licking good. When you were working in the ad agency at that time, before creating your own agency, what was it that gave you the courage and the vision to do all that you have done and achieved?
The love of it, the excellence, to be able to create, to be able to put an idea out there and have people love it and appreciate it, to see people's lives improve and the things that they felt about things that I put on the air was incredible. It was an incredible experience. Working on Secret Antiperspirant, on Strong Enough for a Man and Made for a Woman, and then we'll walk in the stores and see women picking up bottle after bottle. I just thought that was just so magical. It just really gave you confidence to know that you had the words and the ideas that could influence people in a very positive way.
Yes, you've seen so much. This gathering tonight, this first inaugural of the Blacks in Business, Blacks in Technology. Does this give you hope for the future, or what are your thoughts about what we see developing these days?
Well, I've always had hope, and that's all a part of achieving and moving forward. But what these young men and women are doing in the technology industry is absolutely incredible. And they have to know, they need to know, if they can play the game, they can create the game. If they're smart enough to play it, they're smart enough to create it. Yeah.
With my dear friend Marlon Smith, the MC for the evening, motivational speaker extraordinaire all over the world, doing things for Tony Robbins, and you've been in Australia, London. I can't keep up with you, but good to see you here tonight.
Good to be here. What a phenomenal event.
Yes, it was. Why was it important for you to participate? I know you and Carl go way back, but what was special about tonight for you?
Well, I think, first of all, just the way our society, our global society is moving so fast, technology is moving, and it's so important to recognize our past so that we can pass the baton on to our younger generation.
But I just want to leave with these parting remarks. The things that we said tonight are just not things that we want to fall on unfertile ground. You heard a lot of stuff tonight. Some things resonated with you in different ways. The gist of what you're coming away from now is that you can make a difference. I'm standing here now making a difference, connecting with Marlon Smith, connecting with people around the world, all the sponsors here tonight who stepped out and supported the vision. You can make a difference. I challenge you to connect with us. Get with us today. We want to do this bigger and better next year, and we want our youth to see the success up on this stage so they'll know you can see it, you can believe it, and we're going to make it happen. Thank you guys, and we love you. Bye-bye.
If you'd like to contact the Silicon Valley Black Chamber of Commerce, details are on our screen. And also a reminder that the Black Legend Awards are coming up September 12th. Well, there is laughter in the studio because Erica Glessing, CEO of Happy Publishing, is back with us. Since the last time she joined us, she's had 3 #1 bestsellers on Amazon.com. They are The Energy of Receiving, The Energy of Happiness, The Energy of Expansion. It's all about self-expression and a way of embracing life in a new way. So Erica, welcome back.
It is great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, I'm glad to have you, and congratulations on all the successes.
Wow, it's been a crazy year. 2015 is like...
I know, it's halfway
just off
gone
the
already.
charts. I know.
So tell me how you decided on this, because these books feature you writing, but also other authors in there, which is something that you've been doing in a number of ways, but self-expression is the big focus now. So what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, I feel like when you're looking at happiness, and I've been looking at happiness.
Yes, for a long time, the happiness quotations.
Yeah, because why not, right? You wake up, you're
Right.
gonna look at the bright side, or you're gonna look at what sucks. I mean, you might as well
Exactly.
look at what's good.
Yes.
And I feel like when I started to see the people that I felt I wanted to model myself after, who had these lives that were just really alluring.
Yes.
I looked at people that were expressed in their lives. So I look at like people who are singing, like Tyrese Gibson, or I look at people and they're just really engaged in being themselves. Maybe they're a fantastic librarian. I mean, there's no category it has to be in, but it just started showing up for me that when people were expressing themselves and feeling freedom in that there's a lot more joy than when you're just like, no one cares about your opinions, or, you know what I mean?
Yes, and you know, it's interesting because creating that sense of expansion personally is a challenge. You look at the things that come towards you in life, maybe it's jobs, sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's a combination that really put us in a box, if you will, or lead us into a way of thinking, well, that doesn't matter, or this doesn't matter.
Right.
And so bursting out of that is what you're talking about in these books. But how do people learn to do that? I mean, you have the how-tos here in terms of in creating it, but let's talk about the energy of expansion. What exactly do you mean by that, and how can one expand?
Well, it's just always going to be more comfortable to stay the same. So you might really think you want the nicer car, or you might think you want to hang out with cooler people, but what do you choose? What do you ask yourself in the mornings? Do you say to yourself, who might I get on my show today? And we've actually kind of talked about that.
Right?
Awesome, Joyce. Not just
Yeah, I think so too, right?
You're going to want to make some new choices. So you're going to want to throw yourself, and I say throw yourself like imagine yourself in the life that you're interested in having. And you can start from anywhere. You can start from the gutter. You can start from you can't pay your rent. What if you just said, I'd like everything to be easier?
I like that one. I've said, let's push the easy button in
show
life.
me something easy, right? Like, why is it all so dang hard? So now, though, here's where it gets dicey. You're going to get shown, and I feel like it comes from God, so I'm connected in that spiritual sense. You're going to get shown new ways of behaving and new ways of doing things. And do you say yes? Because it's easier to stay the same, you think, but that won't lead you to anything different. So expansion is about looking for opportunities, asking. Do you know how hard it is to ask for opportunities? Because you're so sure you're going to get slammed.
Right, and the fear of rejection and the fear of showing yourself. There's a vulnerability, because what you're saying is, I want something. I'm hungry for something different. I need that. And then when you show that, then the people around you could say, well, good luck to you, or you need that, or you're weak because of it, instead of saying, I applaud your courage. And when you start surrounding yourself with people who are of a different mindset, the whole world shifts. I have some friends, Dr. Laura and Johnny Fernandez, who say, what if you think about the world as a benevolent place? And just shifting to that
too.
makes
the other
a huge
thing I want to
difference.
point out to you is look at the miracles of people you put in your life.
Yes.
I mean, you really have no limits on where you could go. If you look at the people you connect with personally, there are no limits.
Right.
Because look at the people that you attract. That's not an accident. So you want to start giving yourself permission to make new choices. And then also, you just can't beat yourself up. There's so much in the self-help movement, and I'm in the self-help. I mean, happiness, right?
Yes,
I mean, that
exactly.
is my thing,
The
right?
energy,
And that's self-help. But there's the one thing I just hate about it is I did this to myself. I have cancer. I must have screwed up. I have this. you know, I was beaten. What's wrong with me? And you want to just say, take stock.
Right.
Where am I today? Where do I want to be?
Right.
What actions is it going to require? And don't let anything be in that path, because it's your choice, it's your path. And it's so easy to get into beating yourself up for not having solved everything you came here to learn.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's one thing. Don't get me on my high horse.
Well, I you know, you're saying a lot, but you mentioned when you were using the example of cancer, are you saying personally, or are you just saying that that's an example that you were using?
It's an example that I see. Now, I've never had cancer, but it's an example that I see where my mom did have cancer, where people say, what did I do wrong to cause this to my body? And why do I have cancer? And so that question is not generative of healing. A different question might be, body, what do you require? I want to kick this out of my system. Body.
Empowerment.
What can I do today? And you know, that you could laugh. You could, I mean, there's in one of my books, The Energy of Healing, it's coming out soon.
Right.
It's probably on the shelf right now. The Energy of Healing, it's beautiful, it's pink, and it's like got a DNA. And one of the authors teaches energy healing, and it's just body, it's listening to your body and trusting it if it says stuff, because we're not trained to listen. We're not trained to say,
we're trained
what do you want to wear? You're
Right.
trained to say, I'm going to do what's right, or I'm going to do what all the doctors say is right. But who knows your body?
Your body, right?
You,
and
you
so,
do. And so
right.
that's a really challenging thing. But you just start from today. You just
Your
start
body
from
might
right
want
now.
more wheatgrass
Just
or
start from
whatever
right
it is.
now.
Exactly.
Start right now.
Exactly.
Right now. And here's another one of my favorite points: is the world is different right now than it was 3 days ago.
Yes, even 3 minutes ago.
Oh my goodness. So another song became a hit that wasn't a hit. Another baby was born that wasn't born. Another person got fired that wasn't fired. Another person got married that wasn't married. Everyone has changed in the last few days.
Yes.
So even if you ask the question, what if you asked it now? Let's say you invited someone on your show, and I know I keep making it about you, but let's not just make it about
That's
you.
fine.
And they say, oh,
Right.
or their assistant.
Right.
Now you call 2 months later, and they're launching an album 2 weeks later or a month later, and you call right when they're looking at what can I do
to let
in
the world know
July.
about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you might get a yes.
I see.
So you might have gotten a no in November because they knew their album wasn't coming
Never
out
get
until.
no's. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? I know. You're like, this is no to us.
That's that
too
energy of receiving.
sweet.
I know. But this is great. I wish we had more time, because you know how it is. We start talking and it just goes so fast and it's so wonderful. But I love it. I love what you're bringing. And where are the books available so people can find them?
Yeah, just right on Amazon. We have Expansion's also a bestseller, so it's getting its own seal. So if you go on Amazon, you can just Google Erica Glessing on Amazon. All my books come up, and my authors are just so beautiful.
Yes,
so I'm just
you have
going to
so
give
many.
some props. I don't know how they find me. I honestly,
Well, that's here you go, receiving and attracting. You know?
I have the most beautiful authors on the planet, and they find me from all over. So I have Singapore authors and Australian authors, and they're all over the world. So
Yes, they're all over the world, because happiness should be all over the world, and what you're doing is making the world a more joyful place. And it's always a joy to have you with us. So thank you for joining us.
thank you so much.
Yeah, good to have you. And we want to thank you for joining us as well. I'm Janice Edwards. Thank you for putting your signature on our valley. Please join us again next time. We look forward to seeing you there.